What is up, survivors? Today we're going to be talking about taming the Pachyrhinos. The Pachyrhinos are kind of cool. I think it's Pachyrhinosaurus is the full name, but they kind of look like trikes from a distance. They're definitely a little bit smaller and don't have the horns, but they have the giant plate on the front of their head. You'll see these guys roaming around in jungle sort of biomes is typically where you're going to find them at. And they'll harvest berries for you like normal. They have a couple of cool little features though. So these guys can spray gas. They can spray gas, which is a little weird. Anyway, stats are, as you can see, this is only level 5. Stats aren't necessarily too bad. It's got a decent weight stat that seems to level pretty good, so they can be used as a pretty good hauler, kind of. You get a damage reduction when taking damage to the front of this guy, so be a little defensive animal for you as well. You can pick up, berries, rare flowers, thatch, a little bit of wood sometimes when it knocks stuff over. You're a fairly decent berry harvester. Like I said, it gets thatch and wood. It'll actually pick up things like silk and things for you as well, rare flowers as well. But the gas is really where this guy comes into play. It's interesting. So you have two different gas attacks. I'm going to wait for my stamina to get back up because it's not going to work very well without stamina. So you have two. You have one that's going to be your secondary attack and then one that's going to be your third attack. Now on the keyboard and mouse, it's going to be your right click that's going to be the one, and then your C that's going to be the other one. So you have a calming essence and a raging essence that you can spit out. Now right here is the left click attack, which is the hidden ability. And we can see the little ticker up at the top right telling me how much time I have left as far as that one is concerned. Basically, it calms everything down. So things that are normally aggressive, when they're hitting into that gas range, calm down. It makes a lot of those aggressive animals chill out, which can save you in a pinch. But basically a nice little addition when you're trying to when you're getting attacked or trying to get through a certain area that is full of hostile animals. You can use something like that gas attack to calm things down from beating at you. The other nice thing about the calming thing that I really like this animal for is, say you're taming something that's a passive tame, like, I don't know, like an Aquus or a Gigantopithecus. When you drop them in, let's say you drop them in a pen, right? You drop them in a pen, you're trying to force feed them, the berries or whatever to tame them. Well, what if they get spooked? Well, if they get spooked, you gotta wait for them to stop and calm down and de-aggro before you can even start the process all over again, and it can be kind of a lengthy process getting to that point. But with Pachyrhino's gas attack, that calming gas, you can calm the critter down immediately, meaning that you can go right back to taming. Now you might still lose your effectiveness because you spooked the animal or whatever, but the time between the two is substantially better. You can also use these to scare off animals that would normally try to come kill you while you're out harvesting stuff. This is a pretty useful little addition, this guy. The other option is a rage attack. So the rage attack is kind of interesting because you can use it on creatures that wouldn't normally be aggressive, and they'll be aggressive. Spit our gas out. And as we can see, the parasaur is good and ticked off at me now, and it does have a timer on it. It's actually going to try to attack me. This can be good for a couple of different things. You can use this for maybe pulling animals to you if you're trying to pull them into somewhere. There's a couple different variations where I found this really useful. One of which was when I built a pen for my ducks that try to lay golden eggs, but the fish wouldn't come nearby. I actually put the Pachyrhino on a raft and used it to enrage the fish and had the fish come nearby that way. You can use this in a couple different situations, and like I said, it makes it a little bit easier. Fishing in general, it tends to make it a little bit easier, mainly because you can put this guy on a raft and use that gas attack and kind of flood the fish a certain way to get him to go exactly where you to go. This makes also traveling certain areas and certain biomes a little bit easier, like taking this guy through like a swamp with a calming gas. And usually everything in the swamp wants to kill you, but with something like that calming gas taking it through, you can actually go through there fairly safely. So it makes biomes that are usually a little bit more hostile a little bit easier to finagle through. But then, like I said, you could also use this to enrage animals that wouldn't normally be enraged, to get them to follow you maybe into a trap or into whatever. You can still shoot from the back of this guy, which is cool. I always like that, being able to have that option. There's a very long list of the creatures that are truly affected by either gas, but basically, in most cases, I'm going to say most, but in most cases, what you're looking at is things like an Allosaurus or smaller are going to be affected by a lot of this gas stuff. So anything gigantic like a T-Rex or a Giga, they're not going to care. So that's not really going to work out too well for you. The pros and cons are a little touch and go with this guy. He's fairly easy to tame if you have access to bug repellent and a little bit of narcotics. Obviously, it's just a quick knockout tame. They do harvest berries for you, so that's a nice little addition. They're not a very big mount, so size, you're not going to take up a whole lot of space in your base. The gases definitely make this more of a technical, very situational tame that you would use. Cons, it doesn't move very fast at all. It doesn't have a whole lot of punch. It's not really going to be killing a whole lot of stuff for you. It's not going to be a fighting creature. But you do have the benefit of taking the reduced damage head on to make that a little bit useful. You can breed these guys, and they do lay eggs. But let's get into taming one of these guys. All right, so taming a Pachyrhino can be a tiny bit tricky at times, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to make a trap that we pretty much use most of the time, which is this just line of dino gates with a door on one side and a gap to squeeze in between, and then a gate on the other. But pretty standard sort of trap that we're used to seeing out here. Anyway, Pachyrhino. So you just want to shoot this thing once with trank arrows. The reason why we want to use arrows is because if we use darts, the torpor goes down really fast on these guys, and you might not necessarily be able to reload it for quick enough. It's just more efficient using the arrows. It's really what it comes down to. It's because the torpor drops so high on these guys. But we want to tag it once, and as you can see, they got a pretty good movement speed, so you want to watch that. But we're going to line it up to get it stuck here in this box. The general idea, come on, you can do it. So we're going to get it stuck in here, and then we're going to zoom out of this corner per usual, and then I'm hopefully going to be able to get over here and close this gate, and it is stuck in here. From here we can just trank it like normal. So you want to pay attention when you're knocking these guys out, because they'll be able to shoot that gas. There, we got a good knocked out now. But its gas will drain your stamina, so you don't want to be near it. It gives you the opportunity to get back. But as you can see, the torpor is dropping really fast, guys. So you want to keep these things narcotic up. You're going to need a lot of narcotics to get these things tamed. Their bug repellent is actually kind of like their kibble. That's what they want to eat. They're herbivores. They'll eat other things and measure berries, crops. Bug repellent is actually what they want to level up the quickest. And as you can see, it's a pretty quick. I mean, this is only a level 4, but it goes pretty well. But again, you want to have a decent amount of these, depending, especially if you're taming like really high level versions. You're going to want a lot of bug repellent and a lot of narcotics, and you're just going to want to watch this thing like a hawk until it's tamed. But it's pretty straightforward. One, it's just a little weird because of the food that it eats. It eats bug repellent. It's really weird, but that's what it wants, is bug repellent. As you can see, the food actually goes down fairly quick, so it eats fairly often, so it's not going to be that long of a tame. But like I said, you kind of want to hover over it to make sure that torpor doesn't drop too far and then it wakes back up on you. The gas, you got to watch the gas too. Stay away from this guy when he shoots the gas, and the traps are definitely beneficial when you're doing this on foot, because it'll drain your stamina down. You won't be able to chase this thing down if it decides to run away. I always try to do these on foot without a mount. Now, obviously, you could pick it up with a flyer that could carry something like this and drop it in a pen, something like that, but we are not using that, so here we are. But, Tame Pachyrhino. Oh, and the Pachyrhino saddle is here. So the Pachyrhino saddle is unlocked at level 27. Needs 18 Ingram points. You're just going to need fiber, hide, and wood to make this on your person. Not too much of a difficulty target, but anyhow, yeah, we got a Pachyrhino. Pretty straightforward tame. The only oddball thing, like I said, is definitely its food of choice, and then the crazy, insane torpor drop. You want to watch that one. I like the Pachyrhino. I like the Pachyrhino because it's a bit different. The abilities are clearly different, and it's a very like I said, it's a very niche dinosaur that you're only really going to use in certain situations. They're kind of like a mini trike in a lot of ways, but the gas stack, like I said, makes them a bit more situational. I would say, highly recommend that if you are playing Ark on PC, there are certain mods out there that make the Pachyrhino like an absolute must-have creature. Something like Kraken's Better Dinos that I'm a huge fan of and that most of our community is. I would highly recommend using something like that. It gives you a bunch of different gas attacks. It also gives you options for a 2-person saddle versus a 1-person, and gets them a little bit better stats on top of that, making these guys super useful. But even on official, I think they're good. I don't think they're the best. I think they get outshined by a lot of other things, but I think there's key situations where the Pachyrhino shines at, and there's going to be very niche scenarios where you're going to wish you had one of these guys. So don't overlook it, even though it seems like it should be overlooked. Anyway, guys, that's the Pachyrhinosaurus. Hope you guys liked the video. If you did, hit that like, hit that sub button, and I will see you guys on the next one.